in the moment of these events, do you soak it in at all, and do you like absorb that, or do you like because you forget it like after it's over?
I think you have to turn off all emotions in order to accomplish something like that, or else you just will get in your own head. It's like the first time I jumped out of an airplane skydiving, I had to turn off all emotions in order for me to even get in the plane. And as we were going down from the airplane to the ground, the guy who was attached to me, the trainer, was like, "Dude, are you all right? You feel like you're dead?" I go, "I am dead emotionally. I've turned off all emotion to get through this." So I usually don't get to absorb it for about a month, and then I look back and I go, "Oh yeah, we did this really cool thing." So I mean, you know how it is. Putting an event together is incredibly challenging, and I hope people out there understand how much work goes into Jesse's events. You guys actually have an event coming up.
Yeah, and on April 27th, you're going to be there on the 28th, speaking on day 2,
That's right. I'm flying into what city?
San Diego.
San Diego.
I
All
love
right.
you even know this, Pace. This is awesome. You're just really now realizing you're flying into San Diego on the 28th. Oh gosh, that's great. That's how busy you are, dude.
Yeah, it is. It's busyness, yes, but it's also delegating my calendar and relinquishing control of my life to other people that are better at it than me. And I know you guys are good at delegation as well. This is why you have managers and people on your guys' teams. And so I've gotten to a point where I've got just about every aspect of my life planned out, and then other people handle it, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's freaking dope, man. I think that Dunn and I were actually just talking about this a minute ago. He's hiring his team. He's in the 1.2 version of when you first start. In getting going and hiring the right staff and putting
Yeah.
together the right people and
The
starting to
best
build.
part.
Yeah, and that's the part where you actually get to learn the most. And I feel like somebody like you, Pace, that's been able to kind of see how things work, pay everybody the same. I think I was listening to a podcast with you on not too long ago where you talked about you have like an even pay structure with your team where you incentivize folks rather than because everybody talks about like their I remember working in a W-2 world. You probably remember this too, Pace, where people actually I don't even know if you ever did work at W-2, but anyway, everybody talked about like I'm making 50 grand, so and so would be like I'm making 100, and everybody would get pissed off about that. I remember listening to a podcast where you talked about you just pay everybody the same, but you have an incentive structure. What is that? What
Yeah,
is that?
if you incentivize people properly, they'll rise to the occasion. And if they don't rise to the occasion, then they shouldn't be on the team in the first place. But I did have a W-2, Jesse, for 2 weeks. This is an interesting story. I mean, growing up, I obviously worked at jobs because I was not an entrepreneur when I was 14, 15, 16 years old. I became an entrepreneur when I was like 21. And I would pack donuts, bag groceries, deliver Papa John's pizza. I would do all the things everybody else would do. But I got married. Okay. So I've been married before Laura, and I was married for a couple of years. And this woman that I was married to was like, I don't know that I can be married to an entrepreneur. And I'm like, okay, I'll do everything I can do to keep you because, I'm a Mormon dude. So what do Mormons do? They get married and they stay married and they fight for their marriage. So I'm sitting there fighting for my marriage. And I go, so what do you not like about me? She's like, well, one day we have 100,000 in the account. And then the next day we have no money in the account. I'm like, yeah, what's the problem? And she's like, I just wish we had more consistency. I'm like, are you kidding me? I made $500,000 this year just because there's a couple of days out of the year. So, guys, I'm not joking you. I went and got a job at GoDaddy for an $80,000 a year job. And I go through the 2 weeks of training. I was fine for the 2 weeks of training. But then when I walked in the first day on the job and I sat down to my cubicle and I put my key card on the desk, I immediately stood up, walked out of GoDaddy, called her, and I said, if this is who you want me to be, we need to file divorce papers right now. And I just have known what I'm not willing to put up with a lot earlier in my life. And I think a lot of the viewers on here might be listening to this and going, man, I didn't figure that out till I was 40, or I'm currently figuring that out right now, or I'm 60 and I wish I didn't waste my life building somebody else's dream. Guys, my friends, people that are watching this right now, life is so much easier as an entrepreneur, being able to wake up and build something that you're obsessed and passionate about, whether it's midterm rentals or anything else. It is so much more fun and liberating, and your life is so much more rewarding when you just build your own shit. So for me, I was born an entrepreneur, but Jesse has built a lot of entrepreneurs through his program, and so have I in mine. You don't have to be born an entrepreneur. You can be built as one. And this show and shows like it are the way that you slowly become an entrepreneur. So excited to be here today, boys. What are we talking about? Let's get into some midterm rental shit. Come on.
Let's go.
I'll go ahead. And I was gonna. So do you want to jump in? Actually, I'm gonna ask a question. So right now, Pace, we're seeing this is something I actually looked at today. Mortgage delinquency rates are up, I think 4%. FHA loans are up 11%. Foreclosures are increasing. Do you pay attention to any of these like increasing delinquencies like this or foreclosure? Is this something you don't even pay attention to anymore? What should other people be thinking about as we end up going through this cycle of where we're at in the economy and things of that nature?
Okay, so I had Jordan Peterson speak at Squat Up Summit, and he said something that I will quote for the rest of my life. He said, the best protection from a bad economy or outside elements is a nourishing vision. And I had to think for a second because that's such an interesting way to articulate that if you have a vision so strong and you know where you're going, then the stupid shit that's happening on a day-to-day basis does not deter you from what you're doing. And it nourishes you. Your vision is so clear that it nourishes you like a vitamin or like a good hearty meal. And I have such a clear vision for the next 15 years of my life. I know where I'm going. I know the stages of that. I know every phase of the way, what dominoes have to click over before I start working on the next thing, et cetera. That vision is so clear to me that all this crap that's going on is just noise. Now, the beautiful thing, I do have the advantage of not having to worry about current interest rates or what the Fed is doing or tariffs or everything else. I own crypto. I see the market, the crypto market. I'm down like $500,000 in the last couple of days off crypto. Like I see all of the things. I'm not blind to it. I just don't have any emotional response to it because I know where I'm heading. If you buy good assets, it doesn't matter when you buy them. Right? Like we close on another RV park this week on seller finance. That's another reason why I don't give a shit, is because I can go directly to a seller and get 2.5% interest on a $5 million RV park while everybody else is worried about what the Fed is doing and how Trump is trying to push tariffs. I think a lot of people believe it's a genius move on his part. I think if they're right, it is genius. He's causing panic in the market. People are leaving stocks, especially billions and billions of dollars in stocks. They're running into treasury bills, a safer place to have your capital. Treasury bills now are bringing the interest rates down. He'll be able to refinance our debts. Inflation changes. That forces the Fed to lower the rates, and then the economy takes off to a freaking, like a rocket. Logically, that makes a lot of sense. But for me and my business, it makes no difference what the hell is going on. I continue to buy real estate assets that cash flow and real estate assets that are in good markets. And I don't go through banks and I don't use my own money. So same thing with midterm rental. If I buy a good asset, right? If I'm Jesse and I'm teaching midterm rental and I buy a good asset in a good area, who gives a crap what's going on in Washington? I bought a good asset. Are people's hot water heaters going to all of a sudden not burst, and an insurance company is not going to need my midterm rental? Is all of a sudden the airlines are not going to have airline pilots stay in my midterm rentals? Jesse, how does this affect you at all? Does it affect you or does it not really affect you?
Does not affect me at all. Zero.
Which is tough because you're talking to audience members that are like, but hold on, everybody else is talking about this shit. Okay. So stop and think for a second. You got to stop and think, how do people make money when they talk about content? Okay. Can people make money from boot camps and courses and stages and seminars? Of course they can. Yes, for sure. But like throw those kind of things to the side. One of my favorite YouTubers on the planet, the name of his channel is Clear Value Tax. He's phenomenal. This guy gets millions of views, but he doesn't sell a product. So how does he make money? By talking about the news. The way he talks about the news is that he builds so much FaceTime with you and so much brand awareness that you end up hiring him as your CPA. So he is incentivized to get so many clicks, so many likes, so many things. So he talks specifically about pertinent, top of mind, hot topics all day, every day. And he does it incredibly well. But he's never going to tell you how to go make money. That's not what he's doing. A lot of my friends will do the same thing. Jesse's different. Jesse, you're very similar to me. I would prefer to have less views on my YouTube channel and teach people how to actually make money. But how does Jesse make money? How does Pace make money? We make money by teaching people how to do deals with us. Last year, from the people I taught, I bought $100 million in real estate from people who learned how to do my methods and then brought those deals to me. That, my friends, is why I don't talk about the tariffs and the interest rates changing and all of those kind of things, because I don't want to attract all the chicken littles in the world that only care about what's happening today. I want to attract people that are like, I'm willing to do the work no matter what is happening, rain, snow, sleet, hail, whatever. And I'm going to do a deal with Pace. Like the RV park we're buying right now, the $5 million one, came from somebody that came off my YouTube channel, learned how to find RV parks, and brought me a seller finance deal. And I'm funding it and keeping them as a 20% owner. So I imagine Jesse and Dunn, you guys do the same thing, where it's like the more people know how to buy the type of asset that you guys are trying to buy, the more opportunities you have to lend on them, advise on them, or buy them yourselves. Would that be a correct assumption?
Yes, it is absolutely correct.
100%.
That's something we're doubling down on this year, because running numbers and stuff is a big deal. And you're right, man. I think that the credibility part and just the knowledge industry and like anytime I think of creative financing, I think of you, Pace. I don't think of anybody else. And you're one of those few people that have like really put something on the map, which I think is awesome. But the reason why you have been able to do that is because you've been able to help other people do the exact same thing that you did, which I think is really powerful. You do something that is, and this is me fluffing you up a little bit based off of me knowing you for a while. You are extremely incredible about being in a room with a ton of people, 3,000, talking to one person for 5 minutes and making them feel like they're the only person in that room. That's a skill that I believe you learned somehow, some way. Do people grow up? Do they have that burned in them? No, I don't think so. I think they learn it along the way. I think you learned it, but you also had a woman that believed in you more than you probably believed in yourself. You picked it, talked to you on the back of your car one time. I forget her name. What was her name?
Her name is Bethany Willis, and I imagine you have been a Bethany Willis for thousands of other people, which is awesome. Like basically, at the end of the day, somebody like a Jesse or a Dunn are all they're trying to do is pass the torch that somebody else passed to them. You know, like, hey, I make money from this. It gave me freedom and it gave me liberty to go and do what I want to do with my life. Let me share that same thing with you. You know, it's interesting too. Like, when I got into the information business and people were like, please let me pay you to teach me. I was very hesitant because I was like, who sells courses? That's gross. That's disgusting. I'm sure you probably had the same feeling, right? And then when I got really good at it, I started getting haters, right? People are like, oh, this guy, he sells a course. I'm like, well, I think what I do is I share my favorite burrito spot and I share my favorite band, right? Like, is it weird? Like, have you guys ever had the most incredible food on the planet and you want to post about it and tell your friends and family about this incredible Mexican spot?
100%.
Of course you have. And so I think it's the same thing with, you know, midterm rentals or cash flowing real estate or creative finances, that you get so excited, just like it's your first birria taco. Mm-hmm. And you want to tell every freaking person on the planet that this thing is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's interesting to me too, like as time goes on, I was just up in Fresno. I thought about you. I was up in NorCal area, and I was speaking on Saturday to a room full of like 400 or 500 people. And Jesse, you would think at how hard I've worked and how hard you've worked to make sure that people understand what creative finance is and how it can change your life and how, you know, midterm rentals can change their life. You'd think going into a room of 500 people that seemingly are in the real estate space, everybody would know what sub 2 and seller finance and lease options and all these things are. And the reality was like 80% of these people in this audience had no clue what creative finance was.
Oh my God. In Fresno?
Isn't that crazy though? it's crazy to me that there are so many people that just simply don't know. And I think a part of that is that going back to the first question about tariffs and all the other things, there's so many things coming at people all the time that if you can get anybody's attention for more than 30 seconds, you've won, right? And so it really is, what you have got to work on and what I work on and I've got to continue to work on is the art of attention. How do you keep people's attention long enough to change their life? And that's a really hard thing to do. And I imagine the first time you did this podcast, you looked stupid, you felt stupid, and you said stupid shit. And same thing with me on my podcast, but you've gotten so much better at it to the point where you've helped so many people that physically there's a demand everybody brings to you of like, Jesse, we need a physical event, bro. Like we need a physical freaking event. You've done such a good job changing my life and getting my attention. Give us something physical. So your event coming up on April 20th is what you said?
27th.
Okay, April 27th, San Diego. How do people even get there? Like, what's the website?
Yeah, it's midtermrentalsummit.com. It's definitely the place to go. We still have early bird tickets that are up. We still have about probably 70 tickets. We've sold out every year, Pace. This year, we're going to sell out again. So yeah, I'm super excited to get this. But yeah,
what will people learn there? Like, what are some of the things that you're trying to get people to understand when they go to Midterm Rental Summit?
They're going to learn obviously creative financing. They're going to learn how to do sales because everything that we do, literally with everything in the world, especially midterm rentals, is extremely sales based. You're going to be learning that, how to find the right deals, how to connect with the right people, how to underwrite deals, how to find out how to connect with corporate contracts, what that even looks like. We're even going to have a relocation specialist who everybody wants to talk to on stage, like a literal actual.
You have a relocation specialist speaking on stage?
Yes, I do.
That's freaking dope.
It's pretty awesome. So like everything that people want to learn, they're going to be able to learn it at this event. So for me, it's like, and you watch this, Pace, people will go to these events. And I was actually just telling Dunn about this a couple of days ago. I talked to people last year at this event and they were just like, man, I don't know if I want to do this. This is not the right thing for me. I don't know if it is. And I've watched them now, like literally a year later, Pace, stayed an extra day. Those people stayed an extra day, built $1 million careers, like literally in just 1 year. And it's freaking, I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about this because you get in these rooms, you connect with people. In fact, one of my best students, her name is Christine. She connected with somebody in Vegas at a Sub 2 meetup, and now it's her business partner. Her and Katie are like, they're the ones that built that $1 million business in literally 10 months. And it was by just going to events and connecting with people. And you just talked about this a minute ago. You talk about when you get started doing things like this. I have ads that are running right now on Facebook and all that crap. Dude, the amount of people that just have their head buried in the sand where they're just like, this guy's a scam, you're full of crap, this guy's ripping everybody off. Dude, I've never in my life realized how negative most people are. And like, just to be in a room with 300 to 500 people that actually don't think that way, dude, it's an incredible position to be in because 90% of the world thinks that everything's a scam, that people are ripping it off, creative financing is BS, Pace, you're stealing money, I'm stealing money, I'm selling courses. It's like, that's the comments. It's just over and over and over again. And it makes me realize, dude, like that's what most people actually really believe. And it's mind-boggling to me at times because like, and I'm tired of actually trying to like get those people and shake them. I have family members, you might have family members that are the same way. And I'm just like, man, at what point do you stop caring about what they're doing and just focus on what you're doing? I'm actually curious.
Yeah, for me, that was a long time ago, bro. I get people I have a guy right now apparently is spending money on my face for his own product with like a red cross through my face. And somebody sent me a text and they said, you need to send a cease and desist. This guy is using your face and marketing his own company. And I said, I need to send him a thank you letter because he is a beacon to remind me that I am on the right path. Anytime you do something powerful and you do cool things, you will have people that get upset. Why is that? It's because you remind them of the goals that they gave up on a long time ago. And they have to lash out at you for whatever reason. I'm sure, Dunn, you look like a pretty fit dude. You've got a rack in the back. Have you ever had people like say stupid, like really stupid comments like, oh yeah, man, like like being all strong and all that, because like if that's going to change your life? Or have you ever had stupid comments?
Yeah, all the time, man.
So dude, it has nothing to do with real estate. It has everything to do with people's perception of themselves. You are a mirror that is being held up to them and reminding them of the goals that they gave up on a long time ago. So I stopped. Here's a couple of things. Just be really transparent. You want to make more money, guys out there in the audience, stop hanging out with your family. And this is going to be really hard, especially for my Hispanic friends, because Hispanic families are very loyal to each other. They hang out. But here's the thing about Hispanic families. My wife is Hispanic, so I see this stuff all the time. We go to her Hispanic family outings, and the phrase, "You think you're better than us," is said more times than I can even count.
Or they'll say, watch out, look at him, watch out.
Yeah, and it's like a bunch of crabs in a barrel that are trying to hold each other down. And look, it's the same thing in white households. They just have different phrases like, "Oh, how's that little business thing?" You know, it's like, "How's that little business thing?"
Business.
Mhm. Mhm.
And you'll go from a place. I was thinking about doing this video, Jesse, talking about, and my team doesn't want to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway. The name of the YouTube video is going to be the types of haters you will encounter on your way to the top.
That's good.
And the basic
good
hater, okay, like I'm at a point where people spend money to hate me. Okay. And I'm so grateful for it, by the way. Thank you to all those people. I'm so grateful. I don't know one of your names. I'm sure your mom cares who you are, and you're a nice guy. But think about being a grown man and spending money on another grown man's face. Like, that is a level of hatred unbelievable. But the number one, the base foundational one, is always internal in your family. The people you assume should be supporting you the most. They're the ones that see your capabilities. Okay. They're the ones that see that you have the potential, but they don't want you to outgrow or outshine them. And so instead of them saying, "Hey, you know what, Jesse, you are meant for something more. You're meant to escape this town. You're not meant for the factory line. You're not meant for the construction crews. You are meant to change the world," which you are. And they can't say that, because then they will miss out on the magic that you bring into their lives. They're pushing you out. And so what they do is they dim your light and they say stupid things to you, and you start believing it because you don't have a circle of influence that tells you the opposite. And I remember where my life changed the most is when I spent $5,000 to go to a mastermind. It was the cheapest mastermind I've ever been to, but I spent $5,000 to go to a mastermind, and I met a gentleman there that also spent $5,000. His name's Donovan Ruffin. Shout out to Donovan Ruffin. He's in the wholesale game. He's in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, and just an incredible guy. And I meet him in this $5,000 mastermind. And it was the first time in my life that I felt like I was in a room full of people that wanted the same thing as me, and they were all crazy. It wasn't my family just calling me crazy. It was literally everybody in there. They were all crazy, and they wanted to go do crazy things together. And I felt this vacuum, this momentum that I needed to go, do more with these people. And it was the best $5,000 I had spent in my life, because it changed my mindset around, I can learn more in a $5,000 2 or 3 day weekend mastermind than most people that have gone and gotten a college degree will get. Like, think about this. You have investors. Dunn, I'm sure you have investors in some of your projects, right? These people typically are doctors, engineers, attorneys, et cetera, people that are professionals that have gone to school for 6, 8, 12 years just to turn around and go, I wish I got into real estate.
Oh, man.
Like, how many people have gone through your community, Jesse, that are doctors, attorneys, lawyers, whatever, engineers, that are like, I wish I just learned this a long time ago.
Dude, yeah, a lot of them.
A lot of them. And they're sitting there going, I spent 12 years of my life and 300, 400, 500, in fact, sometimes 800 or even $1 million, thousands of dollars on this college degree just to get to a point where I just want to quit this stupid job and live my life with freedom. And so what do? They turn to self-education. They turn to Jesse. They turn to maybe a midterm rental summit, and they go get in a room full of people that are also crazy like them, people that want to change their life. But the first thing that people will run into, the first hater you will run into, is your family member. Okay. Then as you branch out of that, then it's the next level. It's like one notch above that. It's your friends. Okay. Your family members, because you're with them the most, then your friends. And if you can get out of that barrier and you can realize that the whole world is full of people who want to improve themselves, you just haven't been allowed to hang out with them, you will want to run your ass down to the Midterm Rental Summit as fast as you possibly can, because those are the people in that room that are also wanting to change their lives, and they will breathe life into you. They will tell you stories and things that they've done, and you will then get permission to be the badass that you were always meant to be. For me, everybody was trying to hold me back. You think you're better than this, and you think you're da-da-da, and you're getting too big for your britches. That's some white people shit right there. You're getting too big for your britches. What? I don't even know what that means, but all I know is you don't want me to win, and you don't want me to do things. And I think that your audience needs to know that every single year I spend time. So check this out, Jesse and Dunn. I don't know if you guys do this, but at the end of the year, here, I'll actually show you mine. Check this out. This is a list, okay, of every problem that my business had in January. And they all have problems, right? Business is not the removal of problems. Business is the upgrading of your problems, because the bigger the problem we solve, the more money we make, right? And I think a lot of people out there keep trying to solve the same problem. The same problem I tried to solve for like 7 years was, how do I get my first deal? I couldn't get my first deal for 7 years. And it was because I was hanging out with a bunch of losers that weren't doing shit but watching YouTube content. They weren't getting to summits. They weren't getting to masterminds. They weren't getting into self-education and like learning. So this is interesting. A couple of things I'll tell you. So this list, I'm with Tony Robbins at his house, and he's like, list out every one of your problems faced. Like, list out every single problem that you have. And I'm sitting next to a guy. There's 12 of us in this room. I'm sitting next to a guy I'd never met before, but he also was invited to this room. It's an invite-only room. And one of the problems on my list was, I want to raise more than $25 million a year for my business. And the guy sitting to my right, by the way, this is a problem I've had for like 5 years. And the guy sitting to my right goes, I could raise like 25 million maybe a month for you if you'd let me. And I'm like, excuse me, what's your name? Like, the guy hadn't even introduced himself to me. Yeah. And he was already solving my biggest problem on my list that I'd have for 25 years. And the reason I say that wasn't the original point I wanted to bring up, but the reason I'm saying that is, when you're in the right room with a bunch of other crazies, they will solve your craziest freaking problems, because they're also crazy. But here's what I do. Every year I get together with my chief operating officer, Molly is her name, and we write down every problem I have. Actually, we do two practices. So it's the last week of the year, a Friday and a Saturday. Friday, what we do is we go through the top 100 problems in our business, okay, or 25 problems, top 25 problems in our business.
You're documenting those weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, probably, I'm assuming.
This is a very organic meeting. The Friday is an organic meeting. We come up with them off the top of our head. Like, where are we currently stuck? What were problems we couldn't solve this year? What were goals we went after, but we couldn't because we had the wrong team member and the wrong, like, we just come up with the ideas off the top of our head, right? Gotcha. And this one, I actually came up with like 32. I didn't stop at 25. I came up with 32. And what we do is, she then asks me the question, what masterminds, what rooms does the company need to pay to get you into to solve these problems? We stopped asking what and how we do something. We ask, who do you need to be around to solve those problems, and to solve them in like 2 minutes, not 2 years. I want to solve these problems in like 2 minutes, right? And it's always somebody. It's like, you want to be in a midterm rental? You want to be like a badass in the midterm rental space? You go to the guy that does the thing better than anybody else. You go to Jesse, right? So the next day, this is an interesting one too. I don't know if this is helpful for you guys, but the next day on Saturday, we then go through my calendar over the last year, and we list out 100 things I did more than 2 times. Okay. So if it was like a one-off thing, whatever. But if it's something I'm doing more than 2 times, we list it on a list of 100 things. And then we ask the question, did this make the company money? Did this make the company money? Did this make the company money? And then her job is to eliminate 80% of those 100 things off the list so I can double down on the top 20 things more and more and more. So we start categorizing it by like, what does Pace do that makes this company the most money? Take those 80 things off, and then she either delegates those to somebody else on the team or we get rid of them altogether. We come up, like, for example, this is going to sound really bad, but about 6-7 years ago, I put my cell phone out on YouTube, Steve Trang podcast. And I gave everybody my cell phone number. It's still there. And I found that last year I texted over like 700 people I've never heard before in my life. And they just text me, hey, Pace, is this Pace? I got your phone number from Steve Trang's podcast. And for years, Jesse, I was replying to those people, and like, basically none of them ever introduced themselves. They're just like, is this Pace? I got your phone number, right? And so I would reply back with a YouTube video of this. I'd give them resources. Here's my free contracts. I'm sitting there like a concierge to 700 people. And it was just this January that Molly said, Pace, we love you, but it's time for us to now take over that cell phone number. You're no longer allowed to reply to those people. And I was like, but she goes, it doesn't make this team any money. These people that are texting you, they were resourceful enough to text you, but not resourceful enough to go to your YouTube channel and ask the same damn question. You don't have time for non-resourceful people. So it's interesting how life has changed, and as your goals change and how your vision gets even clearer, you have to take things off your plate in order to double down on what you're good at. But how did I learn these things? I learned these things by going to seminars. I learned them by going to masterminds. I learned them by self-educating myself, by paying to be in a room. And one of the first things I'll ever spend my money on is getting in a freaking summit. So I'm excited. What's cool is I go to these summits like the one that you have coming up, and I will hang out in the hallways and answer people's questions. Here's what what's your guys' ticket price?
It's $697.
Cheap as shit. Raise that price. Like, guys, go get a freaking ticket. I'm going to tell him to raise his price.
I know.
Here's what I can tell you about somebody's paying $697. They don't have I don't believe in myself problem. They have, they might be still thinking small, but they're thinking and they're on the right path. So for me, I want to hang out with people that paid $697 all day long, because that shows you a higher level individual who is resourceful, excited about the future, and willing to not only invest in themselves, but invest to that room. Those are my favorite people to hang out in the hallways. And so we found, like, I was texting people and keeping myself from connecting with the real resourceful people, like the people that come to your summit. So anyway, I could ramble on all day long. I'm excited to come to your thing, and excited to be hanging out with all of you guys. Dunn, are you going to be at the summit?
Yeah, I'm going to be there, man. Excited to see you. I'll be up there speaking as well.
How do you get out of Sedona? Or how do you get out of Prescott? Do you drive out of there or you fly?
Oh, we're going to drive to San Diego, actually. We got the kids with us. That's why.
It makes sense. I mean, Prescott's not an easy place to get in and out of.
Yeah, that mountain's treacherous, but we'll be good.
Yeah. Well, you don't have like commercial flights, right?
No, we got to go to Phoenix for that.
Okay. Yeah. And at that point, you might as well just drive the next 4 hours and just get to San Diego yourself.
No, that's not bad. It's only 4 hours. I thought it was longer for some reason.
No, it's 6 hours, but it's 2 hours of it is him coming out of Sedona, basically. So
yeah, you're right.
What about you guys in your business? What are you guys seeing in the marketplace? What are your biggest challenges? What's changing in midterm rental space? Is it the tech is getting better? Is it these relationships with the insurance people is getting better? What are you guys seeing that is improving in the midterm rental space?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this, Pace. There's something that just came out last week. So CRS, which is one of the biggest insurance temporary housing companies on the planet, everybody knows ALE, everybody knows CRS. They just partnered with Airbnb. So, which essentially is like,
holy shit.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So the other thing about Pace, I've been talking about this for years, that this was going to happen, where institutional capital is going to come in. Now you're going to start to see big players get in the space. Airbnb, 20% of their income comes from 28 days or more. We're seeing a lot of people start to not, stay at Airbnbs anymore. Guess what Airbnb says? We're going to partner with the insurance companies that are going to bring us 30-day stays already. So I look at this Pace as being like, first off, I think it gives validity to the space. So Right now, midterm rentals aren't an asset class, just like short term, and they're not that. But I think in the future they will become that. I have a lot of people that are texting me saying, "Now, what are we going to do? Things are going to get crazy. Like now we're going to be out compete. We're going to be competing with everybody else." The people that are on Airbnb suck. They're not the best operators. Some of them are. Like you have really awesome operators that have these badass properties. First off, that's not who's going to be staying at these properties. An Airbnb owner is not going to have somebody come walk the house and walk through it because families have to do that when they lose their home. So I'm not actually worried about it, but what it does do, it gives validity to what I've been talking about for some time. And I think that right there alone, Pace, is it's going to shift the market. First off, more of the mass adoption with everybody else going to come into this space. And not only that, but now is really the opportunity for tech and somebody else to come in and start to create something that can actually create market share, because we know that there's a need. And there's professional operators that are operating in a certain way. So I look at this Pace as like, when I first heard about it, I was like super freaked out. I called Dunn actually. I was like, dude, this is freaking worrisome to me. And then like 2 minutes into the conversation, I was like, it was a light bulb moment, Pace, where I was like, this is what I've been talking about for years. It's actually happening a lot faster than I thought. Good, because now more people are going to be talking about midterm rentals, and guess what they're going to look up when they type in YouTube? I'm going to pop
Jesse
up.
Vasquez.
Exactly. And not only that, but like now you're going to be able to focus more on actually being a small independent boutique operator that is able to do things that Airbnb hosts will not be able to do. And this is where relationships, as you know, Pace, are going to be more important going forward in the future. So, and not only that, but like insurance should only be a little tiny part of the puzzle of your investing toolkit. Like it's just a little small part. Just like creative financing stuff too, there's a bunch of different ways to skin the cat. Same with the midterm rental space. There's so many different types of clients to go after. You talked about airlines. That's one of them. Not many people go into that kind of space. So I look at this as like not a negative, but a huge, huge positive in the potential of where the space is going to go. It's freaking people out. But what's your thoughts on that, Pace? When you hear that right now, like what's your brain saying?
I think it's phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, competition is a good thing, not a bad thing, because what it does is it pushes innovation. It forces people to get better at what they're doing, and people that are in the top 10%. Now, here's where it sucks. Okay. Right now, if you were in the bottom 10%, I think it was on Airbnb, they gutted you, right? Remember that like 30 days ago, Airbnb just went through and gutted their bottom 400,000 houses. They kicked those people off the platform. Yeah. Okay, well, I don't want to hang out with those bottom 10%ers anyway. F those people. Get out of the business. You're making us all look like shit.
Yeah.
So for me, I think people that worry about those types of things with competition, those people are not educating themselves. They're not getting better. Like, ask yourself the question, why did those 400 people get gutted? Why did they lose their rights on Airbnb? Because they weren't operating well. Yeah. We want our industry to have a standard. And here's what sucks about my industry, off-market industry. I do a lot of deals off-market, which requires wholesaling and buying from wholesalers, or teaching wholesalers how to find me deals, or wholesaling myself, which is how I got my start, was being a wholesaler.
Right.
That industry is becoming heavily regulated because there's not been one large institution that came in and go, we're going to wholesale as a full-time thing, and we're going to make this an institutional thing. Like being on Airbnb institutionalizes your industry.
100%.
Mm-hmm. Wholesaling has still not been institutionalized to the point where now in 11 of 50 states, it is illegal in one way or another to wholesale. Yeah. And in the next 10 years, it'll be like 25% of the states will be legal to wholesale in the next 10 years. 75% will not be. Why? Because our industry has never become institutionalized. No big player came in and put a big stamp of approval and said, this is a big enough deal. Midterm rentals are a big enough deal that we're going to be collaborating with Airbnb, the multi-billion-dollar company. You guys have officially become legit.
Yeah.
I think now what it does is it gives space to people to go and invest in SaaS products, right? Like go build your own products, your own platforms, your own tools, your own this, that, and the other. It gives people, if you've been in the top 10 or bottom 10% of school students your whole life, you should just go be a Walmart greeter anyway, okay? You shouldn't be doing anything. If you are somebody that can be in the top 90%, which means you're only better than 10% of the people, you're at 11 percentile, okay? you will win in this game. But if you can be in the top 10, 20%, which is incredibly easy, I'm sure you've seen midterm rentals being ran so poorly that they just give you guys a bad name, just like any other asset class. It's not hard to be in the top 10, 20%. And if you are, you will rake in freaking money. What it did make me think about, because midterm rental, I actually, you and I have a student that we both have, Tanisha Spencer, and she manages my midterm rental stuff. I don't ever look at my midterm rental stuff. I have her manage it. But what's interesting to me, my question that pops up with the Airbnb is insurance companies primarily control that flow, do they not? Or is it the consumer that gets to pick their house? How does that work?
Yeah, the insurance company puts it up, and then somebody's got to agree to it. So that's the part too, where like people might have random calendars that aren't open. So yeah, the insurance company. Well, let's go back a second. Every 88 seconds in the U.S., somebody loses their home due to a fire, a flood. I just had a client that had their daughter took off to school and left the freaking water faucet on upstairs. Came back 10 hours later after everybody got home from work. Guess what happened? You see it all the time, Pace. Completely flooded downstairs. Every 88 seconds, that happens in the U.S. right now. So these insurance companies are sending out these referrals to get housing, but the problem is there's not enough housing to meet the demand of what's actually happening in the U.S. We know that there's not been any new construction. It's the last 2 decades. It's really bad. So there's a shortage in housing, which you already know about, Pace. Plus you have, all these people that list on Airbnb. Plus you have, so just these insurance companies, they don't have enough properties to be able to synchronize and get these things together. And the people that they do connect with, Pace, they don't actually have the right mindset when it comes to, they're trying to price gouge. They're trying to
they're trying to make all their money up front on the first deal.
Exactly. And that's what it goes like, if you ever want to have a long roadway to build something successful, you cannot think about, you're talking about building a relationship that has a long roadway to build an actual successful business. If I want to get a bag on the first client, I'm not going to be around in 5 years. And those people right there at Pace are the people that are actually making this industry a lot worse for everybody else. And they're a little, how this works. You got the little outliers here and there. But I think, again, this is where it gives you and gives me and everybody else in the space validity to continue to elevate. We're looking at continuing to build relationships rather than, getting a $5,000 door and, making 5K cash flow, which is great. It does happen. But in reality, this is going to drive the price lower of what people are actually making, which is more important now that you need to have those relationships so that you can do more deals, because that's what it comes down to. It's going to be deal flow and how much you're actually getting. And yeah, man, so they do control it. But again, now being able to tap into Airbnb's 7 million properties, that gives them now a greater reach to connect with more people. But again, going back to what we talked about earlier, think about a bag of jelly beans. Like, you might be looking for green, and all of a sudden, those insurance companies are looking for green, but you might have a bag that doesn't have that many. And that's what's happening right now, is that all these, these companies are trying to connect with people that just don't get it. The owners think it's a scam because they have somebody saying, we're going to pay you 2x long-term rental rates for 3 months. A long-term operator is not going to want to deal with that. They just want to deal with 12-month leases, which is why they just don't want to deal with that. So again, I think there's this level of operator that's coming in. It's a lot more intuitive. It's a lot more thoughtful, and a lot more of a modern investor is what I call it. Is somebody thinks about businesses on top of their real estate. And you see it, Pace. You've been talking about this for years, where these people are actually coming in with an entrepreneurial mindset where they're like, I can wholesale a deal, and then I can pick the deal up myself, and I can turn it into a residential care facility, or I can turn it into sober living. That's how investors are coming in now, dude. And I love that. I love that. Because now they're coming in with this new intuitive kind of thoughtful process of how they're actually creating their business. And it's really awesome to watch. I don't know, actually, I think you've been a big part of that kind of growth of, changing the way people think about their own real estate, because there's different ways to operate a business. And it's incredible to watch, dude. There's a lot of people that are coming in with that mindset.
So are these insurance companies going to Airbnb and submitting, like, obviously you don't know the platform quite looks like and how it's going to change, but do you see it as the insurance companies going into Airbnb and just booking on people's properties? So somebody that's getting a booking doesn't know it's an insurance client, or is there going to be like a whole new channel that's like for these types of things?
I think that's going to come. That's what's going to happen. They haven't done it yet. It's just been introduced that this has been happening. Plus, these insurance companies have already been doing this for years. But now I think what they're going to do is kind of like, have you ever seen this before, Pace, where Malibu, right? We just saw this happen in Malibu. There's big ass fires, devastating stuff that happened. And then FEMA will go in, and you'll see Airbnb will be like, FEMA saving, we've already helped 10,000 properties. So you got to actually list your property for FEMA. So I think that's what's going to happen for the mid space, where these operators can now list their properties to be part of that CRS. I haven't seen it yet, but I think that's going to come. And then you're going to get ALE and you're going to get THD and all these other companies that have a massive amount coming into the same space too, to be able to pull properties from that same database. But again, going back to what you talked about earlier, this is where people get smart with SaaS, they get smart with some type of technology, and it's going to be 10 times better than anything Airbnb will ever do, because it's going to be specific for those operators, which again, I think this is where you have that creative kind of mentality that starts to change the way this market gets. And again, we're still early in it, but yeah, man, there's a lot of potential. It's super cool to watch. I know it's scary for a lot of people, kind of like we're talking about the tariffs, everybody's focusing on the negative, but if you actually look at the big scheme of picture here, this gives validity to this entire market at a massive level, with institutional capital coming in to support it, which wholesaling has not had, which is crazy. I don't know why Blackstone or BlackRock hasn't ever got involved in that, but they haven't. And yeah, man. So I just think that this now just gives extra layers of where this market's actually heading, and I think it's a super positive, kind of frame of mind to be in.
It seems like it makes it easier for the operator to buy a property and get it filled, right? Which would probably be everybody. Let's say I'm brand new to midterm rental. I would say that my biggest fear has got to be finding my first deal, right? That's like everybody's big, like, oh my gosh, I need to get my first deal, right? Okay, cool. So once we get past that and I get a deal, their next fear is like, how do I fill it, right? Because now I've got a debt that I'm paying for, I've got costs and maintenance fees and blah, blah, blah. It sounds like this is going to basically obliterate the inability that people have to build relationships with insurance companies, because it seems like this competitive advantage that a guy like you or other people have, which is I'm going to build a relationship directly with the insurance company. That's not going away. Mm-hmm. You're always going to have a competitive advantage if you're willing to pick up the phone and build a relationship with somebody. It's not like these insurance companies are saying, hey, we're not going to use you if you're not on Airbnb. They're just saying, hey, you freaking knuckleheads, you guys were supposed to give us way more houses, and we have no alternative choice other than going on Airbnb. Okay, so that satisfies and helps people that might not be as good at building relationships with insurance people get into the game. I think it's a net benefit to everybody that there's more people that will be able to get into the game without a worry about filling up the property.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on it. So it's like that first level adoption is going to be easy to get in. So you're not going to have to go through the barriers, the red tape, which is actually difficult to call a company to do the whole thing. Now you can just like list on a portal, and there it is, which is exactly what is going to happen here. So yeah, man, it's cool to hear your thoughts on this and your shifts, and even relating wholesale to the whole breakdown of the institutional capital. I think that's a big deal, dude. Not many people talk about that with institutional backing or having an alliance with certain companies. And just to talk about this real quick before you jam out of here, Doge, with Elon Musk. Joe, whatever that dude's last name is, the other founder of Airbnb, is actually on that cabinet with Elon Musk. They're actually the two dudes that have been working on this. Nobody talks about that actually ever. Nobody talks about the other dude. They always talk about Musk because he takes the light. But that might actually be favorable for Airbnb in the future, man. If you have somebody working at that level already, we talk about institutional adoption. Like now you have the government, which, just to give everybody concept, 404 cities have banned Airbnbs in the last 8 months. 404 cities. It's going to continue to grow.
Yeah.
But if you look at the future of short-term rentals, you got a guy that's connected to Doge at a high level, doing these crazy things, saving the company, saving the government money. This might actually be a way to ease some of the restrictions in the future. I mean, you have somebody that's adapted and connected there. So I look at this from a weird lens, man, where I can see the potential. I see the possibility. I see that there could be a lot of benefits on the other end of this in the future. And I also look at the institutional side and look at the large adoption, which could be really, really helpful for people that are getting in the game, just like you said, in the future. It's a less barrier to entry for sure.
This really helps out Airbnb too. When you really think about like the midterm rental people that are willing to let people stay in their houses for a longer period of time. I don't know that many of them are using Airbnb as that platform, right? Because it's just not as widely adopted. Obviously, there are midterm rental people that are using the Airbnb platform or maybe even VRBO platforms. But what I think this does is it helps Airbnb in a big way, because if they're outlying, 440 cities,
yeah,
it's one of the reasons why I got almost out of Airbnb entirely is I had to pivot a lot of my houses to midterm rentals. I had to pivot a lot of my houses to co-living is because of legislation and local laws were changing so rapidly. Atlanta was the first one that kicked me in the teeth. Yeah. We had 75 Airbnbs in Atlanta. I now have 0. So that whole business was, years of acquisitions all built up, and then seemingly overnight, it's like, who's paying attention to local laws and legislation? You just don't. It's not until it already passes. You're like, wait, what? I'm not allowed to do Airbnb? What the hell? Yeah. Atlanta hit me, and then Vegas hit me, and then parts of Phoenix hit me. And I was like, midterm rental is the way to go. So what does that do for Airbnb and their valuation? Is it hurts them because less people can actually operate on that platform. When you open up a whole new vein of midterm rentals and you bring insurance companies to the table, bro, what a power freaking move that is. And I think it will double the industry, triple the industry of midterm level operators. Just another reason why people should get over to the Midterm Rental Summit. Go to midtermrentalsummit.com. Dunn, what day are you going to speak, bro?
I'll be there the first day to set the tone. Yeah.
I love it, bro. You going to be lifted on stage or what?
Yeah, I think I'm going to do a couple cartwheels.
Oh, dang, bro.
He's going to squat on stage too. I think we talked about doing that, which is pretty freaking awesome.
That's so good.
Real quick, Pace, before you get out of here, Amy has a question for you. We'll put this up here. This is what it says. Who can help find me structured creative deals for midterm rental? I'm good at other MTR things, but I would like to use my time on these things instead. Dang it, Pace, what would be your answer to that? This is probably something you hear all the time. Where do I find and get my first deal?
Okay, so I have 30,000 members in my community, and I have about 500 of them are at the very elite level. And if you DM me, I'll just connect you with one of them directly, and they can JV with you on the deal or work with you on the deal, whatever it is. There was a year, probably in 2002, 2001, I still could have helped people, but I've gotten far too busy for that now. And now I've just got an elite trained group of assassins that can help you out on anything. And I'll give you somebody that's specifically local to your market so that they have a little bit better understanding of what's going on in your local market versus the real estate industry as a total.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So Amy, DM Pace, he will get back to you. And Josh says, I'm excited for MTR 2025. I am too. Pace, I'm super glad that you're going to be showing up, man. I really appreciate it. I try to line up people that I actually admire and look up to and see what they do in the world. They're doing good. You're one of those. I extremely am thankful for this. And thanks for spending time with us talking about this stuff, man. I'm excited to see where your business continues to go. It's been freaking amazing. And man, yeah, thank you so much for being here. I hope everybody had a good time. Dunn, any final words for Mr. Pace Morby here before he jams out to his next live, which he's going to be doing here in a second on his YouTube channel? For those of you who have, real quick, I just want to forget, you guys go check out Pace's YouTube channel. It's by far one of the best. Pace, I love watching your stuff, man, because you guys will come up with some cool stuff. And if you want to learn everything creative, like Pace literally walks you through how to do this stuff on a regular basis. Literally calls people on the phone doing deals. Like, there's no reason to not figure this stuff out these days, especially with a channel like Pace. But anyway, Don, sorry to cut you, bro. Go ahead.
Pace, I look forward to meeting you at the summit, man. And just thank you for everything that you do, brother.
Let's get it, boys. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Pace. Appreciate it, man.
All righty.
Later, dude. Awesome, guys. That was it. Mr. Pace Morby hanging with us for the last hour, which we appreciate. And I'm pretty sure Pace's hourly rate is at least $35,000. So you guys just got a $35,000 session with Mr. Pace Morby today.
Great.
Speaker. I'm not sure how to DM Pace. Amy, just go on Instagram, and she's in Lexington, Kentucky. Send him a note. Say, hey, I was in Jesse's Midterm Monday live, and I talked about finding a deal. Can you connect me with somebody in Lexington, Kentucky? And I guarantee you he'll get back to you and send you that information over. Dunn, any thoughts on this call before we jam out for the day, man? Anything that you stood out?
Dude, I was everything, man. I felt like a student. He was just bars after bars, gems after gems, and I'm over here taking notes. Like, yeah, I forgot to interview the guy. So I'm really looking forward to see him at the summit. And yeah, like you said, you lined up a lot of heavy hitters. You know, so
we got a lot of
third time around.
So yeah, if you guys haven't got your ticket, head over to the midtermrentalsummit.com. Get your ticket today. Pace said I need to change the price. I don't know if I'm going to do that, but you guys can use the code Jesse10 to get 10% off that actual price. So get over there. I hope to see you guys again. These deals happen in rooms like this. They're powerful. I think again, if you're one of those people that's just like needs validity for what you're doing, Pace talked about this today, where your family is sometimes not going to believe in you. I happen to be that guy for a long time. In fact, even to this day, I still am somewhat that guy, and it's hard for me to go back and be around family and have them say like, man, this is like fake. Whatever you're doing is not real. It is. And there's a lot of potential. And this is why being at these events, it gets me excited, because it's a room of, just like Pace was saying, maniacs who think a lot bigger than most people. And a lot of us just need to make sure that we run ideas by other people, and we just need to get that validity. Real quick before I let everybody go, there was a moment in time where I needed to hear from somebody that my idea was good. And there was this guy named David that I used to, that lived in my market. He owned about 50 properties. He was like this big time go-to guy. And this was in 2020. And I've been quietly building Midterm Rental since 2015. He happened to notice what I was doing. He started asking me a ton of questions. In fact, he got on a call with me one day and he's just like, dude, I see what you're doing. I see all these things. It's freaking awesome. In fact, my properties, I want to turn them into midterm rentals too. How do I do this? What's the best way for me to do it? Can we connect later? Can you come teach me this? And that was the first time that I had anybody that I knew in any way, especially this guy who had all these properties, and me just an aspiring midterm rental operator in 25 years of operating, which is a long time already, owning about 8 or 9 properties at that time, doing fairly well. Seeing somebody that was like, man, I want to invest in this. I see the ideas that you have. I just needed somebody to give me that validity. And I remember getting off the phone with him this day, that evening, it was that night. And I set the phone down. I went in the backyard and I just sat there and I put my hands in my face, and I'm just like, I had tears. It was the first time that I had somebody that actually believed in what I was actually doing, when my immediate family didn't believe in what I was doing. They thought I was crazy. They thought I was a maniac. And I was just searching for validity from one person. That's really what I wanted. And we all want that as human beings, to be seen, be heard, and be valued, right? We just want that. And I think being at these kinds of events like this gives you that potential where you could see, where somebody else in these rooms will tell you, you're onto something. You have potential. I see it. You're doing the same thing that I want to be doing. And that's what's powerful. And again, being in those positions and getting that validity and just getting that energy from other people, it's infectious. It feels amazing. And the difficult part about this is like taking the energy home with you. And we're going to talk about that at this event. Dunn, maybe that's going to be part of your speech. Like everybody gets pumped and they get excited about, what are you actually going to do when you get home? What are 3 things you could do after having this type of energy, being around these people, getting energized? What are 3 things you could do when you get home? And those things are going to be powerful. We're going to talk about those things there. So I'm encouraging you guys, not because it's my event. I do these because I believe in putting community together. In fact, I don't make any money from these events. I actually lose a lot of money. And I'm not going to tell you guys exactly how much, but I lose a lot. And the whole point of me doing this is to get people in the room to build something bigger than themselves. That's what's important to me. That's what's important to Dunn. And the reason why I'm bringing this up right now is because I actually realized the other day who I'm actually speaking to when I talk to people on these calls and I talk to people on these things. I'm actually talking to the guy that was back in 2020 who was in the backyard crying. I just needed somebody to believe in me and have those ideas. And that's who I'm actually speaking to now. I just realized this a week ago. And it came to me, I'm like, that's the person that needs to hear that. That's why I've been speaking to this entire time. So for me, it was this like kind of aha moment where I'm like, that's what I've been doing. I've just been talking to that guy, my former self, the former version of me, these layers of myself that I had to shed in order to become who I am now. That's the guy that I'm actually talking to. That's the gal that I'm talking to. It's that person in that space. And again, if that's something that fits your mold, if you're in that position, go there. It'll change your life. And I'm not telling you this because it's mine. I'm telling you because I've watched it happen time and time again. And it's just important to be in these rooms. It's powerful. Yeah, that's my TED talk for the night. Don, do you have any thoughts before we jam out of here?
No, man. I think we got to save the rest at the Midterm Rental Summit, man. That was good. That was real good. That was real stuff.
I appreciate it, bro. Well, if anybody's got any questions, please reach out. Again, we'll see you at the summit, midtermrentalsummit.com. Thanks, Pace, for coming and hanging out with us. Don, I appreciate you, bro. And we'll see you guys next week for Midterm Monday. Next week. Appreciate you guys. See ya.
Stop recording.
Let's see here.